Today on Monsonmadethis, I am super excited because I get to cook out of this brand new cookbook, Vegan Yak Attack on the Go, and I'm gonna be making this amazing recipe, which is the Cauliflower Curry Grill Packets. And in order to help me make this, I have a very special guest. I have Jackie from Vegan Yak Attack here to help me make this. So it's coming up, stick around. We're gonna make this amazing dish, and we're both starving, so yes. Let's do this. All right, so the recipe we're gonna be cooking today comes directly out of this brand new cookbook, and Jackie has been generous enough to give the recipe to me to give to you, so that will be able to be found on my website, and I'll have the link posted below. Also, she is giving away a copy of this book to one lucky viewer, so stick around and I will give you information on how you could win this book. So we're gonna get cooking here, we're gonna get set up, and we're just gonna show you how to make this amazing dish.
So right now, what we're going to do is chop the vegetables for the grill packet. And the whole purpose of this is to make a dish that you can just prep at home really quickly, wrap it up in foil, and take to a barbecue, which is perfect because it's summer. And as vegans, or even if you're a vegetarian, when you go to somebody else's house, you don't know exactly what's been on their grill. Right. So this is a nice way to keep your food safe, and honestly, just to keep it compact. And I've made these, brought them to parties before, and people are like, wait, what are you eating? And I'm like, something extremely delicious that you can't have, but you could share if you want.
Yeah, because you never know what's on those grills.
You really don't, you really don't. So this is nice, and it's a lot of wholesome plant-based food. So we're just gonna chop these down, the cauliflower, the potato, so that it cooks fast when it's in the foil packet.
Cool. Let's chop. So Jackie, this is your second cookbook.
It is my second cookbook.
Are you excited to have it out, to share it with the world?
I am excited. This one, I'm probably even more excited. Okay, I really love the first one, which is Vegan Bowl Attack, if you have not seen it. This one I love because it really helps beginners more than my first book did. This one really caters to people that are trying out veganism, that maybe are just enthusiasts at this point or want some healthier recipes, but that are also simpler ingredients and like really approachable and accessible.
Well, yeah, that was one of the things as I was going through the book and looking at all the recipes, like I just kept seeing like, oh my God, I want to make this, and nothing felt like it was like too difficult or required a lot of prep work. It just seemed like, oh, I pretty much have a lot of these ingredients on hand. I could throw this together, and I don't know, I keep a fairly well-stocked vegan kitchen, I think.
Yeah,
but even then, like, what do we have here? Cauliflower, potatoes, onion, peas, tomatoes, chickpeas, like literally these things are pretty much in my kitchen at all times.
Yeah, of course. I mean, half the stuff would either just be in your pantry and can last a long time, or a couple things you might need to buy fresh, but that will still last a while in your refrigerator if you have them.
Right. Cool. And how long did it take you to actually write this book? I don't know, like I have no concept of how long a cookbook actually takes to write. I mean, I feel like I write recipes fairly quickly, but that's one at a time. So how many recipes are actually in the book?
So it's 105 recipes. Yeah, a few of them are used in other recipes, just if you want to make your own basics, like seitan or the pesto, or there's a couple other sauces that you can buy in the store if you're really trying to cut on time. But if you want to make it yourself, save a little money, and have like a really fresh sauce or a protein, that's in there too.
But yeah, so it took you how long to write it?
Oh yeah, so I'm like, the book, I feel like typically cookbooks, it'll take people anywhere from, a year to 2 years. I did mine in probably just under a year. From the time I signed the contract to when it actually came out was a little over a year, maybe a year and a half or something.
Still so cool. Was it easier doing it the second time around, or was it just as?
Yes and no, because in theory, like actually working on the book itself, when I was working on it, it was a little easier. And because these recipes have less components than my first cookbook, that in itself was a huge time saver. So it made me like really confident in how the book would turn out and save other people time. But at the same time, I had a lot of other work going on. Like I was on production for a TV show and some other things. So actually working on my book was like the hardest part.
Right.
So I would say there was that, but otherwise it was a little bit easier. And because I've photographed, thanks, onion time. Because I've photographed other people's cookbooks for a few years, I have an understanding of like usually how the process works. So yes, it was faster though, I would say.
And I would say probably being busy and having a busy lifestyle helped you to write this cookbook, considering this was for people with busy lifestyles that are trying to find time to cook good food while they're on the go.
Yeah, because I didn't really have the time to take a whole day to develop one recipe or something. Right. So I was like, all right, how can I make these so that I can make maybe a couple in the day? Obviously, if it doesn't work out, remake it, because you have to allot yourself like that time. But otherwise, yeah, it did work out really well in that respect.
Do you have a favorite recipe from the book, or are you pretty much in love with all of them?
That's a good question. Like, because there's a point where you turn in all the photos, in my case, and you turn in the manuscript before then, and then you don't look at the book for maybe a few months because it's like either the editing or the designing. And I probably didn't see anything for about 4 months. So then once I finally got the hard copy, which was about 6 months later, maybe 2 months before the book came out, I was like, oh God, these look so good. And like, I'd be like, oh, I love that one. And I'm like, I wrote all of these. Why wouldn't I not love them? But there's one in particular that I've made quite a few times at this point because it's really easy to feed a lot of people with it, or even to feed yourself multiple times with it, and it's the green enchilada casserole.
Oh, I saw that. It looks so good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a base of black beans and potatoes with some onion and spices, and then you have corn tortillas, and you kind of layer it like lasagna, and then the sauce is this really easy tomatillo avocado blender sauce. And you just pour it in the layers and then throw that thing in the oven. You can make the cashew cream or put vegan sour cream on top with a little cilantro. Super good.
I feel like anybody that watches my stuff knows that I love a blender sauce. I feel like most of the recipes I make is just like, throw this in a blender and blend.
It's probably my favorite kitchen tool, honestly. Like
Completely.
Aside from an actual like knife, like for prepping stuff.
And the pictures, I noticed that because that vibrant green on that enchilada, I was like, oh my God, that looks amazing. Because all the pictures are like so beautiful, and you photographed it all yourself, which is also incredible, developing recipes and photographing everything. And it's super, super cool. So I sliced up these tomatoes here. Do I put these in with these now here? Do they go in with the bowl?
Just dump it all in.
All right, so let's get rid of these cutting boards and replace that with our foil that we're going to use for these packets.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to add our ingredients to this bowl. So I'm gonna start with these garbanzo beans here, which good source of protein, which I was noticing looking through your cookbook that your recipes seem really balanced, like lots of vegetables and beans. And I feel like, was the health consciousness aspect of it a big deal as you were writing this cookbook? Was that like something that was in the forefront as you were writing this?
Yeah, I feel like even making like a well-rounded meal when you're not vegan, it is not intuitive, because you're like, what was my protein that I was using before that I basically made this entire meal around? Now I don't have that, I take it out. So I wanted to make sure that even if the protein sources were like beans, like legumes, stuff that was cheap and you could buy in cans, because I know that that's more convenient for people. I'm not gonna ask you to make stuff from scratch all the time. But that's an easy way. I mean, because like you can, it's a luxury. It's a luxury of time. So I wanted to make sure that these were filling and that there was like always protein and like a vegetable or a fruit of some kind, and then maybe a grain or like a kind of like a complex carb of some kind. Because I feel like, first of all, you're gonna get a lot more flavors when you put more things together, and then also, like I said, I wanted there to be like quite a bit of nutritional value, even if it didn't seem like it when you were making it.
Yeah, the beans sort of like sealed the deal for this recipe for me, because like, oh, okay, that's gonna really like beef it up.
Right. And even the peas are kind of like a low-key protein source. I mean,
there's their way into everything these days.
Well, and you even the
pea protein.
I was gonna say you can buy pea protein, but you don't think when you're making something with peas like, oh, there's a bunch of protein in here, because it looks like a vegetable, but it still is a legume. So we have these two. Yeah. We'll dump those in.
It's like that always been a concern for you in a vegan journey, is making sure you're healthier. What made you go vegan, or how long have you actually been
So
vegan?
I've been vegan for about 7 years, I want to say. Yeah, a little over 7 years. I started because I was working full time as a product designer, and like I mentioned to you earlier, I was buying a lot of like frozen entrees, so lean cuisines and healthy choice and all of that, and I just didn't see the value in it anymore once I was spending, you know, $30+ a week for these meals, and they just weren't even like that good, and like we were saying, like the caloric value is very low, so it's almost more like a snack.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, I'm gonna start cooking for myself. And I did. Do you want to give that a little stir now that the coconut oil's on there?
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to start cooking for myself. And I wasn't vegan yet, and I wasn't even vegetarian yet. But about a month and a half into that journey, I was like, you know what? I started researching about food after I had started making recipes from online. And I was like, you know, I think I'm gonna avoid these things now. There was one particular moment where Corey, my partner, and we were at Jack in the Box, and he got this like breakfast bowl. And it was the creepiest, like it looked like it was borderline nuclear. And he looked at me and he's like, don't eat that. And I was like, if he is telling me not to eat this, it was actually in my head at that moment that I thought, I'm gonna go vegetarian, I think.
So then was it people that you think are like you at that time that you wrote this book for? Like, is that are you back then the intended audience for this book?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when I was writing this book, the way it came together was, you know, it started kind of as a camping concept, which I actually would still like to do in the future, but like really deep into that niche. But in this case, it went into on the go in terms of, you know, fast schedules, a fast-paced life, but also things that you can take with you. So there's items like the 30 minutes and under chapter, so you can make a meal at home. You're not actually taking it with you, but it still suits that lifestyle. And I thought about, you know, what was I making when I first went vegan, and when I was working full-time in an office was a lot of stir fries and sautés, because you can kind of like make those in bulk. And I was the only one eating them, so it's not like I had to worry about feeding someone else. So I would just make these for dinner and then save the other servings for lunch or dinner the next day. And then like, what did I have time for, you know, the night before I would go to work, because that's usually when I would prep stuff for like breakfast or my lunch. And that's really the mind space that I got in for this book, so that because cooking is my job, you know, I'm in a different spot where I like taking the time to cook something. So I had to really shift my mindset. And actually Corey's mom is mostly vegan now as of like the last year. So even the questions that she asked me in regards to cooking food or what ingredients were, I took those all into account, and I thought of her as well while I was writing the book in, you know, the intro especially, because I give you guidelines on like what you should have in your pantry if you want to be able to make like pretty much anything your heart desires, but still have stuff that's like shelf stable, or like what kitchen tools you need. So this is really targeted towards beginners that don't have a lot of time.
And this dish even, I mean, it smells so good. I added the curry powder and all the rest of the seasonings in there. It smells amazing. It's almost like a samosa?
Yeah, right.
That's sort of what it reminds me of. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I don't know if it's politically correct, we used to make hobo dinners, I guess was the
term
for them.
Right.
Where you just throw like potatoes, and it usually was like a hamburger patty or some sort of meat in there. And you just like, you put it in tinfoil and put it on the grill. So like something like this, I feel like is something I kind of grew up with a little bit. So yeah, I think my mom would love this, because she definitely loves these flavors, and this kind of style of cooking is something that I remember we did when I was younger. So
yeah.
Really cool. So, all right, we've got this. I feel like I've got the seasoning pretty much incorporated enough on my hand to make it look like I did work.
Well coated, for sure.
I think we're ready to make some packets.
Divvy it up. Let's do it.
I just got back in from outside, braving the light drizzle of rain, and I started up the grill. I have it warming up to, trying to get it to about 400 degrees in that grill, so I've fired up all 4 of my units. And now it's time to fill the packets so we can throw them on there.
We're folding them up. So it's 4 packets. We already have 4 sheets of foil up, about a foot by a foot if you can. If it's a little less, that also works. This just gives us a little bit more room to secure the packet. And this is gonna take a little bit of guesstimating, but we're gonna put about 1/4 of the mix into the center of the packet. And
we want it to be like,
try not to put it on the floor. Oh my God.
We got hungry pups here that'll.
Oh no, I totally understand that. Okay.
We're trying to go for a pile.
Sorry,
though.
chickpea. Okay. Yeah, so a little pile. I'm really dumping this all over the place. Okay, you could, yeah, get some of that little stuff in there. And so when you fold it, some of the small stuff will settle at the bottom of the bowl. Make sure you get, because that's where all the protein is, make sure you get some of that. And you can also bump up the protein content in this recipe if you want and add a little cubed tofu or use that instead of the chickpeas.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so that's what I like doing. I just throw some in there and it's like really satiating. So now we're going to fold the hot dog way, lengthwise.
Were you ever a grade school teacher?
No, but I was in grade school at some point. So I know it was like hot dog and hamburger for a while, so maybe I would just do hot dog and taco.
Tofu puff, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right, and then we'll fold it over once we meet those two parts together. Once or twice if you can. It might end up like a little bit of a long grill packet. We'll tuck the filling in so it's away from the edges. So now that we have our flat edges, we'll roll in that side until it reaches the mound. Press it down a little bit. Need to make sure mine doesn't burst. And this will keep that center fold together also. All right. And here's our grill packet. Yours may or may not be more rectangular or square. Doesn't really matter as long as it's together and it doesn't break.
Got it.
That also works.
I have a little bit of what happens though, I mean, this maybe really happened to people. I do have a little bit of a tear.
A tear? Honestly.
Do I patch it like a pie crust? Or is it okay?
I feel like it'll be fine. Like we'll grill it on one side first and then we can like gently turn it over, see what happens. If you want to put a little patch on it, you're more than welcome to. And actually this time, there you go. Is that working? Is that working for you?
It's not like pie crust.
It's not like pie crust.
I'll do better my second time around.
Okay, so now, and I'm actually gonna turn it this way so that we have a little bit more room for the center fold so that we don't break it. Okay. Because it really just depends on the kind of foil you have.
Yeah, I bought this foil thinking it was better because it does say recyclable, but it seems to be pretty thin.
It's a little thin.
It's a little thin, I can feel it.
Yeah, it's definitely
Try to do a good thing and...
The industrial strength, no, but it'll work. So that's the thing, it's like this, and I know you can get foil similar to this at like the 99-cent store. So if you're like, I don't have foil, but I don't want to buy a lot of it because you're trying to not waste as much, you just need it for this barbecue that's happening, then you can get something in the 99-cent store.
You did mention that you could maybe do this. You didn't suggest parchment, but maybe cast iron pan?
Yeah, so if you wanted to bring your own cast iron pan, like, or if you're just making it at home and you don't need to make grill packets, you can absolutely just put a cast iron pan on the grill, keep it in there, and then just cook it probably for like 20 to 30 minutes. It might take a little longer and stir it occasionally.
So sort of like hash-like kind of?
Yeah, a little bit like a hash. Or like a Dutch oven, because that actually would steam it. So if you had like a cast iron Dutch oven with the lid, you could even do it on a fire. So this could be a really great camping recipe for that also. All right, so now fold. So this go like that. That helps because it helps settle it.
Okay.
And then you can fold it over again. And then we can do that. And now push.
Perfect.
Kind of like the opposite of sushi. You're pushing into it instead of holding it back. And then we can roll up this side. Ooh, there we go. See, that's what it should look like.
Much better.
Nailed it. This one. All right, fold and fold. And here's our grill packets. Whee!
Beautiful.
Oh, there's a tomato in here.
It's fine, chef snack. Cool, well, let's throw them on the grill. I'm sure that thing's all warmed up now. So
yeah.
Let's go outside. Whatever. All right, let's take these outside. I have elected to put these on the grill, braving the elements here while Jackie's inside preparing the ingredients for the sauce. So I'm just gonna place these on the grill. And you want your grill to be about 400 degrees. And they're gonna go in here for 7 minutes. And then we're gonna flip them over and let them cook for another 7 minutes. Check and see if everything's tender, and then they should be done.
Now that the grill packets are on the grill, it's time for the yogurt sauce. And I feel like this really brings it together because and we use vegan yogurt, of course. It has this cool citrusy, herby flavors to it. Contrasts really nicely with the warm, starchy curry flavors in the grill packet.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna make it.
Super good. So now we have our vegan yogurt. I use plain vegan yogurt so that there's not any really added sugars. We don't want to make this like a dessert. And you got the green onions and the cilantro.
Yep, I'll be
here.
finely dicing these up. I need about 2 tablespoons worth.
Yeah, roughly. And of course, I mean, I like to definitely reinforce that a recipe is a guideline. So like if you're baking, recipes are not a guideline. Absolutely follow the recipe. But if it's savory and it's just cooking, you know, adjust to your taste because it's not going to completely fail unless you do something weird and totally outside of the recipe. Then you're just experimenting, which is also good to do.
And especially things like cilantro, because there's a rumor that some people don't like it.
Yeah, some people have a gene that makes it taste like soap to them. So
obviously, what would you swap it out with if you were to make this?
You could do some parsley, similar, but definitely a little bit more of like a fresh taste. And it won't it'll still complement the curry as opposed to like if we use dill or something, it would just be a weird flavor combination.
Can I throw these in the?
Yeah, dump them in. So, and then we also have some salt and onion powder.
Yep.
I'm guessing it's a beige powder and it's either garlic or onion because I love them both. So there we go, we'll dump that in. And then I'm going to zest this lime. And a tip is if a recipe has both lime juice or lemon juice and lime zest or lemon zest it first, then cut it, even if one measurement is before the other because of quantity.
So there's nothing worse than trying to
zest a juiced lime. I've done it.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
It's like zesting a deflated balloon. Or not that one would zest a balloon, but you know.
Yeah.
It's a little floppy.
But that's a good visual. Now I'm just imagining somebody trying to zest a balloon, but it does make sense. It does make sense. So I'm gonna zest probably most of this lime and then I'll have you cut it.
It smells so good.
It smells so good.
I feel like I rarely use zest. I use a lot of juice of citrus, but I don't ever add the zest, and I feel like I'm missing out on half the fruit.
Yeah, because while juice is good, you get a more concentrated flavor out of the zest without adding more liquid, which can sometimes like mess up a recipe.
Yeah.
Like even
especially
if you're
with this, because this is a little bit thicker of a yogurt.
Yeah, and we're adding lime juice already. So instead of trying to add so much lime juice that you get that flavor, we add that concentrated of the lime zest. All right, good.
Cool.
Cut that for me, please. Wonderful. And so here, I like using citrus reamers, but since I just got my hands, I'm going to, I don't think there's any seeds.
There's no seeds, yeah.
But just if you have like a,
you want that?
no, we'll use, I'm just gonna, we'll do this. So I'll put my hand out if there was seeds, so that this is something that you can do. And you juice over your hand because it's not a tight seal. The juice will come through your hand and the seeds will stay in your hand so that they don't end up in whatever you're doing. But since I don't have any seeds, I'll just dump that all in there. Now we can give it a stir. And you can always make this yogurt sauce ahead of time, like maybe even like a day ahead of time. It'll last up to probably 5 days in your refrigerator. And then that way, and it's really good on a lot of things, honestly.
Will the herbs stay vibrant and green?
Yeah, I think that the lime juice, the acid from the lime juice helps preserve it a little bit. Just kind of like when you see ranch, it might darken a tad, but the flavors will still be good.
Will it thicken it all if it goes in the fridge, or will it pretty much stay this
It'll probably stay similar. We're not adding anything that's gonna thicken it up very much. And this yogurt is pretty smooth, not as viscous as others, so it's actually really good for drizzling. So this is pretty good. All right, yeah.
About time to flip those grill packets, and then we'll get to try them. Our first 7 minutes are up, it's still drizzling, and I'm out here to flip these packets. Trying my best not to rip them. And this is the one that I ripped, so I've got to be extra careful about this. Not too bad. All right, 7 more minutes, and they should be done. These have been grilling for a total of 14 minutes now, 7 minutes per side. And I'm just gonna flip them back over. And I'm going to test one of them just to see exactly how done they are. We want the cauliflower and the potato to be fork tender. So this is the packet that I had damaged, and I'm just going to check it. Look at that beautiful steam. Feels pretty good. I think I'm gonna let it go just a couple more minutes just to make sure they're absolutely finished. So I'm gonna flip all the rest of these back over and give it maybe another about 3 minutes or so. Have to dry off my tray here from all this delightful rain. All right, it's been 3 more minutes. They're going to be done now. So let's pull them off the grill. Really, you have no idea how amazing this smells. You will if you buy the book and make this recipe. All right, I'm gonna turn off the grill. I'll meet you back inside. And here we are, fresh, steaming, hot off the grill. It smells so
good.
It's ridiculous. I was just saying, like, such humble, simple ingredients, and it filled the backyard with smell. It's making the house smell amazing.
Indian cuisine, man, they nailed it. So this is me just like really purring it down for grill packets.
Yeah, it was so easy. So let's tear one open and test it out.
So now we put some salt in it before it went in the grill or was cooking. When you cook food, the salt flavor, it's gonna go down a lot. So that's why we're gonna season it with a little bit more salt, just a little sprinkle. This coarse salt is really nice. And now we'll drizzle some yogurt sauce over the top.
I love how you could even see like some like dark bits and stuff that it's caramelized a little bit and everything is just... Is there gonna be like a sauce? Is it juicy at all in like the bottom of the packet, or is everything pretty?
It's kind of the only, because we didn't add any liquid to the packet, so it kind of steams itself. It doesn't get very saucy, so that's why I like adding the sauce to the grill packet in this case. But it's not like a thick curry or anything. It's more just like, almost like if you had roasted vegetables, but they're in a packet. So I'll just add a little bit more of the yogurt sauce. Well, we can add more if we want, but you know, we'll keep it to the recipe. Fork. Sorry, there we go. Let's dig in.
Perfectly tender.
Yeah, the cauliflower looks good.
Oh, I got a good bite here. Chickpea, potato, cauliflower.
I want to get a tomato in there. My mouth might be on fire though.
It is cooked perfectly.
Oh.
Did you burn yourself?
No, it's so good.
It's so good. I mean, truly, you can taste all of the flavors of the spices, and I love just the acidity that the yogurt brings. It truly like brings it all together. I'm going back in.
Yeah.
It is so perfectly cooked too.
Ooh, look at that potato is nice and golden.
Yeah, look, I don't know if you can see this, but this perfect caramelization that happened from it being on the bottom of the packet, which is nice. I love that the recipe had it flipped over in the middle, so you get more surface to grill ratio, so you get that caramelization.
Absolutely.
So, while our mouths are full, you got to tell people how they can get this book. Where can they find it? Where can they find you?
Oh. Now that I've ruined myself.
We can start over
I don't
again.
want to be rude. No, we're good. So the book is on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble's website. Pretty much any web retailer that sells books has the book. And you can also find it in Barnes & Noble store, and it'll be in Whole Foods very soon.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so, and pretty much like any bookstore. So like Powell's in Portland or any other big bookstore will have the cookbook in it. It's very useful.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's pretty much everywhere.
And you're Vegan Yack Attack on all social media?
So the website itself is veganyackattack.com, which is where the book title came from. And Yack came from Jackie, since that's my name. And I'm on social media on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, all as Vegan Yack Attack. So definitely hit me up if you have any questions about the book. I really recommend it, and I love helping people out.
Yeah, and I'm Monson Made This on Instagram, Pinterest even. I've started using Pinterest a little bit more because
so
I feel
helpful.
like a lot of people really like Pinterest. monsonmadethis.com. And I had teased earlier that we're going to give away a copy of Vegan Yack Attack on the go. So tell them how they can possibly win this. Ask you again while you put food in your mouth.
No.
It's just so good we can't stop. I literally have a full fork this entire time.
So to enter the giveaway for a copy of the book, you have to be a US resident, 18 older, but comment below. Tell us what excites you most about this book and why you want it. And then we'll pick one randomly.
Yeah, because there's so many like good recipes. Like there's a scrambled like chickpea egg thing that's like the beginning of the book. There's so many like bars and like salads that you put in jars that are ready to go, and like the buckwheat taco meat. Like there's so many things in this book that you should be excited about. I've given you a few things to write just so you can try to win this book.
Yeah,
so.
and it's really allergen friendly. Like I made sure that there was a lot of soy-free options, a lot of gluten-free options. There's even a lot of nut-free recipes, which is kind of hard to find sometimes with vegan food. So whatever your allergies are, if that's a question you have, definitely message me then. Yeah. But the book is super allergen friendly.
I definitely noticed that. It's just a bunch of like whole foods. It's really incredible and quick, easy, very friendly to make. So
yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for this. Thank you for coming here and feeding me and teaching me how to make this. And
I'm gonna take this now. It's mine.
I have 3 more to
God.
keep. So thanks for watching. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.